real business owners.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 61 with myself, Trevor Cowley, as always, with Kale Goodman here with me.
What's up?
Guys, today we want to focus on a topic that I think is very important, especially with everything that we're going through right now. And the topic is basically, what you focus on is what you get. Right now there's so many distractions out there in the world that our focus is being pulled in so many different directions, whether it's riots or these race issues or COVID, or now there's politics. Now that, there's so many different areas that are very divisive and can really pull you in so many different directions that you don't really even want to go down because it's taking you away from what you're trying to accomplish in your life. Right. There's always going to be distractions, but right now I would say the distractions are hitting an all-time high. From what I've seen, because we're getting hit from so many different angles, so many different opinions. People are scared to even tell other people what their opinions are based upon somebody else that is a friend on Facebook might start arguing with you or whatever it is, right? So everybody's kind of on edge right now, and I think now's a perfect time to get reset and refocused. I know that even just the last few times that we've talked about doing 75 hard together just to, again, drown out the noise and give us something to really challenge us and focus on. Right. Because when you actually have things that you're trying to accomplish and things that you have to get done on a day-to-day basis, that is obviously going to take away some of those distractions that are happening right now because you're in your own world. You're trying to accomplish what you set out to do. Yeah. And so I really think right now is a very, very important time to basically become more disciplined, because if you can drown out the noise right now, you're going to be golden forever. Nothing can come into your ecosystem and destroy it because of the level of discipline that you had during one of the peak distractions of our time. Definitely. Right? And so the reality of focus is you get what you focus on. Broke people always focus on, man, I can't catch a break. I'm always so broke. I live paycheck to paycheck. And there's really no room for anything positive if all you're thinking about is negative. Yes. Right? And so it's almost like when you buy a car, like you buy a brand new Yukon that's white or something. You drive down the road, you're going to see every white Yukon on the road because you're hyper focused on that because that's what you drive. And prior to owning it, you probably didn't see as many or notice as many, but they were still there. Yeah. Right? And so that's a prime example of you when you're focused on something, you actually see more of it. Right? And so when you're focused on negative things, you're going to see more negative things happen in your life because that's what your brain thinks that you're looking for because of all the things that you're spewing on a day-to-day basis. So if you're always talking about negative things, why would your brain try to go against it and find something positive? It just doesn't happen like that. And when people say, the rich get rich and the poor stay poor, I don't believe that, provided the focus is there, right? Now, I think that somewhat is true based upon the fact that broke people focus on their broke and that they can't catch a break, and they focus on all the other things that people are doing positive in their life rather than trying to focus on their life and make a change for the positive, right?
Well, that saying's debunked pretty quick, dude, because if you go and actually talk to a lot of pretty well-off or highly successful CEOs, most of them come from nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Immigrants come here and outwork everybody that was born here and build massive empires.
But what is their focus on? When they come to the U.S., what did they come to the U.S. for?
Exactly. They came here for opportunity. They came here to accomplish something bigger for them, their family. They are so grateful for the opportunity that their focus does not get pushed down as easy. It doesn't get hindered as easy.
They might have had bigger problems elsewhere anyways. So the problems that we think are problems to them aren't even problems because they came from something much worse. Right? And so, again, this individual comes into a country just grateful for an opportunity to be here. And since they're only focused on opportunities to make a positive change in their life, that's all they get is positive change in their life because that was their intent. That is where their focus lies. And so that's all they do. They wake up, they go to work. There's been many, many times that I've spoke with people, I own X amount of gas stations, or I own X amount of restaurants. I own X. And they were an immigrant coming into the country. And I talked to them about how they did it. Well, I worked 3 jobs. I didn't really have a life for like 10 years. I saved every penny that I possibly could. Yeah. And then I bought this restaurant, or I bought this gas station, or I bought this, or started this business, or whatever it is, because they're really hyper-focused. And that was their intent. The moment that they stepped foot in the U.S. was to make something of themselves. And they knew for a fact that if they outworked everybody and lived beneath their means, that they would be able to accomplish their goal. And that's no different from anybody else that exists right now.
And that's the thing, is you don't have to be an immigrant to understand that, right? Like, people that are born here do it all the time as well. But, when people come from shit like that, like shit, broken homes, or from a different country that didn't have these opportunities, it's easy for people to be like, wow, man, you went through all that shit to get where you're at today. Like, I can't believe you were able to live through that. And they're like, it wasn't that bad. You should have seen what I came from. So their gratitude's already through the roof. It's easier for them to keep that focus because they've been in harsher situations.
Well, I mean, if they've lived in poverty somewhere else to poverty in the United States are pretty different.
Yeah, depending on where you're at.
Right. So for the most part, it's pretty different, right? Yeah. So when they come in here into the U.S. and they live in maybe a low-income house or whatever, I'm not saying they qualify for low-income housing, but obviously a house that somebody with a low income would want to get, they're grateful for that home. The funny thing about it is they're just grateful, and they always find more things to be grateful for. Yeah. That's just the way it is, right? And the wonderful thing about focus is when you actually focus on all the positive things, your brain then does just that. It starts focusing on more positive things. I'll tell you right now, I'll openly admit that it's very difficult to do. You have to be very conscious of what you're trying to accomplish in order to accomplish it. Yeah. I've been slacking in terms of my gratitude journal or the G code with Steuben's app.
Dude, I just started reading again the other day. It's like I realized the things that have pulled my focus away. And some of it is this pandemic and the politics and stuff. I've found myself drifting into that a little bit. Yeah. Also the home that I was building, and it's like, but dude, it's so true. Your focus moves elsewhere, and all of a sudden these things start suffering over here. You start getting in a funk. Things start suffering. Yeah. Like, I know there's a lot of things I got to get back to doing right now to bring revenue back up. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be done.
I mean, it was much easier to focus on those things when times were good because there were so many things to be grateful for. Right. And so when things start turning south a little bit, that's when you really need to double down on having gratitude and worrying about basically your own goals. And as selfish as that sounds, I mean, that's just what it is. That's what you have to do. And I think a lot of people get drawn into negativity, and they do that because they don't have any goals. Right. So if you're not working towards anything, it's easy to be distracted by negativity. Right. And it really hits hard because you're just a drifter. You're just floating. You're not trying to accomplish anything. So one thing that I would say to help refocus is, again, focus on your goals. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you chasing, right? Because when you're actually chasing a goal and you have a vision to try to get somewhere, an obstacle comes in your way. If the goal's big enough, you can push right through the obstacles. If the goal's not there or absent, then any obstacle that comes in your way appears to be much larger than it really is. And so goals are a very, very important thing to have. And again, that's why we were talking about doing like a 75 hard. That's a goal, something that we
have enough awareness from the work we've done over the years and the experience that we've gone through and the things in the books that we've read. We have enough awareness to realize, dude, I'm drifting. I got to get back on the plan. I got to get back towards this.
Exactly.
That book I was reading, that Psycho-Cybernetics book, it's really cool. Like it actually talks about how when you set a real goal, your brain is actually trying to automatically steer you there like a guided missile or a torpedo, right?
Yeah.
With
there's a target to hit.
Yeah, there's a target to hit, and your brain is trying to take you there.
Yeah.
And it's like you're the only thing getting in the way of it if you lack that focus, and if you lack that discipline, and if you lack that execution. And so as long as you are like willing to stay stay focused on that goal, like it's gonna take you there.
It'll
you know
work
what I mean?
with you.
And your brain will steer you back on path too if you let it, right?
Yeah.
So you can't work against your own brain on this, right? Which is focus.
And part of focus is identity, right? So how do you identify with yourself? Do you identify as being broke? Do you identify as being poor? Do you identify as being a victim, or I can't catch a break? Right. You know, your identity basically equals what your belief system is in your head, right? And so when you verbally speak these things into existence, it'll remain the exact same forever. I don't know who it was, but somebody on Ed Milet's podcast said, you know, negativity spoken out loud gives it 70 times more power than if you just didn't give it that same type of attention, because it doesn't deserve that attention. So one thing that I think that is good, and one thing that we had a meeting about just a week or two ago with some of our sales reps, is talking about, you know, your new identity, right? How do you want to be, or excuse me, who do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? And you need to start identifying with some of those traits. Right. You know, I am energetic, I am happy, I am fulfilled, I have opportunities everywhere. Again, the frequency that you need to tune into is the things that you want in your life, and who you want to be and who you want to identify as, because you have to identify as that prior to ever being that. Right? It's just the same concept of a kid practicing basketball, 3, 2, 1, you know, trying to make hitting that buzzer shot. Yeah. They've seen it over and over and over, and they identify that I'm going to hit the game-winning shot at one point, and they continue to practice that over and over and over, and they identify as the individual winning the game on that last second shot, right? And their probability of having that come true is going to be much greater than some kid just shooting around in his yard, just messing around trying to have a good time. Your intention and your focus is really the determining factor of whether you will or will not be successful. It is what it is. Again, we didn't make the rules. We got to play by them just like you guys. And I'll tell you, the reason why we're having this podcast right now is because my focus has been, you know, drifting, or my focus has been down. My intentions have been down. And so I'm not necessarily saying this because I'm on putting myself on a pedestal saying this is what I do and this is why we, you know, no. Look, even people that are successful, they lose focus. They drift just like anybody else. But it's about catching it, and it's about addressing it when you feel that you've drifted a little too far away from who you want to identify as and who you're trying to be as an individual. Right now, you know, I'm in a funk just like everybody else.
Dude, I definitely have been too, bro. And it's been very common with like you said, everything that's been going on. But dude, at the same time, like, you know, when I say things all the time, like, it comes back to self-awareness. You know? It's really just being honest with yourself internally. You know what I mean? Like, I know after 75 hard that, and I started letting all these other things get in the way that were goals of mine, that are still goals of mine, but I allowed them to let my focus drift away from the things I was doing that got me to my one goal. Then I started putting all my focus on this other goal, and without having some self-awareness of like this whole time, like, dude, I know I keep skipping the gym to do this. I've got these excuses I keep buying into. Without me being honest with myself, I wouldn't get back on track as quickly. And so I'm grateful that we have that. We're able to be like, okay, dude, I realize some things are drifting. Like we talked about even with our company culture. We're like, dude, some things are off, man. Like, let's put some focus back on that. So, of course, we plan an event. We start doing some recognition. We start getting back close with our companies. I know I've been out of the office a lot. I'm trying to come in more, make sure we're interacting, make sure we're building that family culture. Because that's important too. You know, it's important for all of the employees, for us, and the growth of our company. But it's all where you put your focus, man. And so we put our focus back on it, things start improving.
Dude,
simple as that. Put your focus back on your health starts improving. Well, start putting on your finances start improving.
It's true. if I'm focused every single day on losing 20 pounds, am I more likely to eat that slice of pizza?
Right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because if I literally wrote down every single morning, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Just as you said, your brain starts working with you to go towards that goal. And then when there's that slice of pizza sitting there or that burger or whatever, it's much easier to say no to it because of the focus and the intent that you have, and your brain's trying to work with you and trying to help you. Now, yes, obviously that voice will come up and, try to start negotiating, but at least you didn't go directly to the yes and pick it up without any sort of negotiations or anything like that happening in your mind. You have to have
Which is what happens when you don't care enough.
You don't care. When people don't care, they're not focused. They have no intent. Right. They just drift through life.
Right.
And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I feel like that we are pretty self-aware and we're pretty strong mentally. We're pretty disciplined in many different areas. And if these are things that we're feeling and going through, and I had this conversation with like Sean and Trevor in my office, and I'm like, dude, if I'm feeling it, I know you guys are, I know other people are.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm pretty disciplined and I like to stay to my routines and I have my habits, and those are becoming harder and harder to stick to right now.
Right.
And so if somebody that has a level of discipline or success that we have is feeling that, what is the average person feeling right now?
Right.
They're feeling very overwhelmed.
Right.
And so how could we help an individual that's feeling overwhelmed or feeling like that they're really drifting or feeling like that they're easily defaulting to a negative mindset?
Yeah.
And there's a few different things that people need to be doing. Is they need to get back to some of the things that they used to do when they were feeling good, identifying what you were doing versus what you're not doing now, right? If you were working out all the time and you're not now, that can put you in a funk.
Yeah.
If you were setting goals and you're not, that could put you in a funk. If you were writing down 5 things that you're grateful for on a day-to-day basis and you saw some positive changes, then it's easy to say, oh, well, I'm fixed.
Yeah.
And then you stop doing the things that were helping you because you start feeling good.
Right. I
think that's one of the main issues is some people work so hard to get to a certain point, and then when they start identifying with something a little bit new and different, that they feel like that they've moved past that old person, and then they stop doing those habits that got them there, and then they drift back down to where they were.
Totally.
Right? And so it's just a matter of continuing to do the things that got you where you were, even during difficult times like we're facing now.
Yeah.
Just as Kale said, he's picked up a book again for the first time in a minute. He's been busy building a house. And again, lots of different distractions happen in life.
Well, we buy into our excuses, Like I look back on the process of building my house, and dude, I got injured twice. So they're all valid excuses, but they're, like we always tell ourselves, guys, they're still just excuses.
Yeah.
So I knew this whole time, I'm like, I'd get home and I'd be like so beat, man, from actually like out swinging a hammer with injuries. And I'm like, well, I can't go to the gym right now because I'm injured, but I'm going to hobble around this house and work on it. But it just went on too long, man. And it gets easier and easier and easier to get back to that Monday talk, right? Like, I'll start again on Monday. I just want to get through this first. But that's your bitch voice talking, dude. And that's one thing that really helped me was hearing it that way. Like when we heard Andy's talk back couple years ago, that one really resonated with me. I was like, man, I keep letting my bitch voice win too much. You know what I mean?
I think what makes that cool is you're actually naming it something, right? So Stewman calls it the force of average.
Right.
That
helps me too. I like that one.
Yeah,
I explain that to people all the time.
Me too.
I'm like, bro, you're here and now you're here. That's the force of average trying to pull you down.
I had a conversation with one of our employees just the other day, and I explained the force of average. I'm like, anytime that you're trying to progress in life, there's going to be so many new obstacles that are going to try to deter you from that goal. And it's again, that's the force of average, trying to keep you where you're at right now in life. And those obstacles, again, if you're doing something new, you're going to have new obstacles. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so,
but when you understand it that way, it's like you can have that conversation. It's like, I know what you're doing right now.
So if a problem
I know
happens,
you're trying to pull me down even further.
Exactly.
And then you take it almost as a challenge just to get through that and not let it affect you, which changes your entire state in that exact moment to move a different direction. Because, dude, we all are human. We wake up have shitty days some days. And you feel like, dude, I lost my wallet this morning. I was frustrated. My wife was like trying to help me find it. And it's like, I could sit there and let that affect me all day, and it can turn into problem after problem after problem. Or you can reframe it like, oh, this is the force of average trying to fuck with me right now, dude. And I ain't gonna let that happen. So I went and grabbed some cash and went on with my day, dude. I got enough cash to get through the day. Yeah. You know, so until I find my wallet, which I still haven't found, dude.
Jeez. Well, it's gonna end up being like somewhere completely obvious.
It's got my Amex Platinum in there, dude. I've been using that for everything.
Yeah, well, watch the online statement.
Probably in the laundry.
Yeah. Probably, you know, it's always in a spot. The only spot you obviously haven't checked. But again, identifying things like, so when your brain tries to negotiate and talk you out of doing something you know you should be doing, Andy Frisella calls it the bitch voice. So he identifies it so that when it starts happening, he can say, oh, that's just my bitch voice trying to talk me out of it. And it makes it easier to overcome something that you can identify.
Exactly.
And then
you almost become competitive with it. You're like, you ain't going to get me.
Exactly. So, but if you never identify it or label it as something, then you just kind of let it get to you, right? And it can win more often. Yeah. When you actually say, oh, this problem, something got thrown my way, that's the force of average just trying to hold me back. And then when you label it like that and you're like, it's trying to hold me back, I'm not going to let it hold me back. Yeah. I'm going to just continue down that path and I'm going to continue to do what I need to do in order to get to the goals that I have, right? But obviously if you don't have goals and the force of average comes in and throws obstacles your way, it's much easier to just let those obstacles derail you off of that path. Right. So having goals, something that you're working towards is very, very important. You know, there's the scenario where forever I've talked about my goal as a kid, because I grew up so poor, driving by neighborhoods with houses on a hill. I always wanted a house on a hill. My focus has been a house on a hill ever since I was little. And recently I purchased a lot that's a house will be built that's on a hill, right? And so again, you guys have to be intentional about what your long-term goals are, what your short-term goals are, having gratitude for the things that you currently have, always seeking new information, always learning. These things, I think people are depressed because they stop progressing in life in general. Yeah. How can you be happy as an individual if you're not progressing in life? Right. When you're not progressing in life, then you're not happy. And if you're not happy, then you start bitching and moaning and complaining and creating excuses. Oh, I'm poor, the rich just are rich, and poor are poor, you know. Then you start using those general statements that don't serve you at all. Yeah. At all.
It doesn't.
Has somebody that was poor became rich at one point? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then shut the fuck up and do whatever you need to do to make it happen for you. If it's possible, it's possible, right? Now, again, if you want to put somebody else on a pedestal that came from the exact spot that you came from, that's a choice that you're choosing to utilize to give yourself some sort of comfort for not following through. Right. We as human beings thrive on accomplishing. And again, you can't accomplish things if you're not setting a goal to something in order to get there. And that's where the real happiness is in progress. Right? The funny thing is about money's great. Money's an easy thing to measure in terms of progress. I make 50 grand a year. Next year I made 60. You're progressing as an individual and that feels good. Right. But if somebody's making 50 grand a year for 10 years straight, they can really have a lot of self-pity. Now, again, it could maybe not a financial goal in terms of progress. Maybe it's a physical goal. Maybe it's a mental goal. Maybe it's a reading goal. Maybe it's learning how to meditate goal. Maybe it's writing down 5 things that you're grateful for. But when you set out to do something and you actually do it, that's
fully committed.
Fully committed. That's where self-worth is created. That's where happiness is created. Absolutely. If you have zero self-worth, you cannot be happy. Those two things don't go together. Yeah. So you start kind of reverse engineering it. Okay, well, if happiness equals progress, now I need to start setting goals so that I can work towards something and accomplish those things. And as I do, my self-worth is growing and I become happier because I'm challenging myself and I'm watching myself accomplish the things that I set out to do. And then again, your self-worth and confidence continues to grow. And if you have self-worth and confidence, by default, you're going to be a happy individual. And then you set out to accomplish bigger and better and bolder things.
Right.
And so, again, always be learning, always be seeking new information, always be setting new goals. And when you feel yourself going through a phase of drifting from your goals, or just drifting in general, and you feel yourself that you're not happy or you're in a funk, you need to just be true with yourself and say, hey, I'm in a funk. Identify that you're in a funk.
Yeah.
And then once you identify it and you are real with yourself about it, that gives you more power.
And understand that your power of choice is so powerful, dude. Like you get to choose whether you stay in that funk or not. You get to choose
100%.
if you switch gears in that very moment or if you're going to put it off till Monday.
100%.
You truly have that choice.
So when we had that meeting, I came back to the office and I put, and again, I downloaded an app.
Yeah.
And I'm going to listen to this on a day-to-day basis. I just downloaded the app just 2 days ago. But so I have a list of things that I want to identify as. I am disciplined. I'm a magnet for success. I'm energetic. I'm loving. I'm in the best shape of my life. And again, you don't have to be in the best shape of your life to identify as that, because you want to identify as being the best shape of your life so that your brain starts working towards and with you to get to that goal, right? I am understanding. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm a successful business owner. I'm a public speaker. I'm a motivator, a leader. These are things that I want to be known as. And so I have to start identifying with those things now so that I can morph into those things.
Yeah.
And I think people aren't trying to morph into anything anymore. Right. And
really, by having these affirmations too, dude, like you're keeping that focus right where it needs to be. You know what I mean? By being committed to saying it every day and choosing to identify as the person you want to be, like you're keeping it right there. And so the affirmations are really just a really cool practice, right? Like you're practicing becoming who you want to be every single day. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's a tool.
Let's be real. Your brain can be tricked.
Oh yeah.
Your brain can be tricked. Why? Because you've had dreams that you thought were real, but they weren't. Right? So your brain can believe things that aren't even true yet, as long as you're programming it in the right way. So the idea is to, again, if you're in a funk, turn the attention on you, fully on you, and understand, what am I doing? What am I not doing? What do I need to be doing? Who do I need to identify as to be successful? You can't identify as being broken, poor, and end up being successful.
Right.
You just can't, because
you can't just go around thinking everybody else around you is lucky that has something that you want.
If you identify as broken, poor, your brain is going to continue to lead you down poor decisions because it's thinking that.
But people really get stuck just thinking, it's just not in my cards. And it is, man. You just ain't done the right work. This is the right work.
Anything that's of value requires effort, requires work, it requires intention, requires focus, and I think all of those things are being just torn apart right now. Our energy's being depleted by negativity, our focus is being taken away. The intention that we have, if you're not focused, you can't have intention, right? And so those two things really go hand in hand. And so right now, I think this is a perfect time for you guys to pull back and really start focusing on yourself. Start writing down things that you're grateful for on a day-to-day basis, and watch your brain start, just defaulting to gratitude. Like you'll look around and you're like, man, I really like where I live. I love this place. Man, these mountains are beautiful. Or this is so great. I'm lucky to have wonderful employees. Like your brain will start seeking out other things that you're grateful for, because you're training it to seek out things that you're grateful for when you sit down and say, I'm grateful for coffee. I'm grateful for a shower. I'm great. Again, what are you training your brain to do? And if you're not training your brain, then you're choosing not to do anything. And by default, the negativity in the world and the distractions in the world will have far more power over anything that you do without that intent of, my focus is here. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. So if I were you guys, again, if you don't want to bite off a 75 hard, we did that episode 10, prime your day.
Yeah.
That's a good little thing to shake up.
That's a good point. You don't have to take on Goliath right in the beginning, man.
Yeah.
Like, create your own challenge and stick to it. See it through 100%. It will build confidence for you to do something a little bit bigger. You see that through 100%. Now you take on a bigger challenge. Like, you know what I mean? If we do 75 hard and commit to it 100% several different times throughout the year, like, it's not that hard anymore. Now we have the confidence. We know what we're capable of, the mental toughness that we've developed to take on an even bigger challenge, right?
That's because it becomes a habit.
Exactly.
That's just what you do now. That's who you are. That's
Exactly.
now who you identify as. I'm a person of discipline. Mm-hmm. I wake up, I do this, and this. This is who I am. This is what I do, and here's my habits.
Your bitch voice gets a lot smaller. Your force of average pops up a lot less when you're so focused on getting through those challenges, and you have the confidence that's just continuing to build to go on to the next thing.
Well, we're attracting things into our life, right? And so if you're negative, you're just attracting more negative.
Yeah.
If you're focused on the positive and you're focused on discipline, you're focused on success, you're focused on your family, you're focused on your health, all of those things will start thriving.
The problem is some people have it pretty good, dude. So they have a hard time tapping into that ultra focus. Like, they're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it a lot. Like, comfort's a killer.
Yeah.
But man, I remember when we were rebuilding this company.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, I got 2 sales guys. We had 2 sales guys.
Yeah.
They're depending on us to bring leads. They're depending on us to feed them so that they can feed the company. And we were basically starting completely over, man.
Yeah.
That's when we brought everything over and did that partnership with you. And I just remember, just getting to the point of your affirmations, dude, how powerful that is. First of all, I wasn't comfortable at all because I had watched a lot of things decline, especially financially at that time.
Why did they decline?
Well, there was partnerships break apart. I was comfortable. I had gone through divorces. I allowed all these things to pull me in a different direction.
The focus wasn't there. The intent wasn't there.
But when I realized people were depending on me, right? And I also not just my kids and my families and all this stuff, but our employees and their families, like, that shit's deep.
Yeah.
That shit's important to me.
Yeah.
So what I start doing is I start shifting, instead of saying, man, I need to get more leads. Man, I need to get more leads. Who am I going to reach out to? I started saying, I'm going to get more leads. I need to get on an airplane and I need to go see some people. I need to get some deals done. I stopped saying I need to, and started, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find the money. I'm going to talk to these guys. Maybe we'll put on a credit card. I'm going to get this this trip booked on an airplane. I'm going to get a room booked. I'm going to get in front of this person. I remember looking at myself in the mirror saying, I'm going to get this deal done today, right before I walk into the meeting, right? And I get that damn deal done.
Your energy, your focus, and your intent was at an all-time high at that point.
I'm so focused on it that I was not gonna fail, dude. I had to make something happen. My focus was so powerful. I had to make it happen. And by tapping into those affirmations and flipping those words of I need to do this, I need to do that, to I am going to do this. Shit happened. Bro. Shit happened.
So when our energy and focus and intent was on growing the company, we ended up signing a lease much bigger than what we wanted to sign. Right. We knew that we had to start hiring people. And if you hire people, you have to make sure that they have work to do. Right. And so in some cases, you have to put yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit by, again, I hate saying it, but sometimes overly committing to what the goal is, right, of growth. And you have to kind of expose yourself a little bit. It's risky to sign big leases for 5 years without a guarantee. But if your energy and intent is to grow, growth doesn't just happen. Growth is forced. Growth is something that you have to focus on. You have to have the intent to grow, because if you don't, you'll get to a point where at first, a lot of businesses, when they're startup, they have the intent to grow because there's no revenue and they have to have money coming in to pay their bills and to cover their overhead. So they work their asses off to get to the point where their overhead's taken care of, their bills are paid. And then at that point, they go on maintenance mode. They just maintain that level because they're comfortable, and their intent and focus has now shifted in terms of maintaining the business at that current level rather than the focus of growing it. Now, if they put people in place to operate their business and they had that same intent from that startup phase, like, I have to bring in money, I have to get jobs, I have no revenue, I just barely got this new work truck or this, or I signed a new lease here, I've got my bills. Your intent is like times 1,000 as a startup versus year 8, right? Like, because you know you have to get it done. I mean, look at the intent over there at 60-day credit repair with Coulter. His intent and his focus is high right now because we're building that thing back up. We're going to make that thing a juggernaut, right? And so you can just feel it. It's just different when you're forcing something to grow and that's your intention, right? And so, again, if your intention's to lose weight, if your intention's to save money, again, if you don't intend to save money and your focus isn't on saving money, how easy is it just to pay your bills and say, well, I got $500 left. I'm going to go get that new pair of shoes, or I'm going to go out to eat, or I'm going to do this. But if your intent is to actually save and have 10 grand at the end of the year, your answer when you say, do I want to go to that concert? Do I want to go out to eat? Might be a little bit different. You might say, I don't want to do that. You know, I have this goal. Again, that mind comes in and tries to help you a little bit.
It does.
If it's not there helping, all you have is the bitch voice saying, yeah, go do it. You deserve it.
Yeah.
You don't deserve shit if you don't have the money, right? You don't deserve it.
Right.
You haven't put in the time. You haven't put in the effort. Don't start rewarding yourself with something that you don't deserve yet.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, and I think that's what happens.
If you're saying I deserve something and you haven't been doing the work, man, you just got entitlement issues. You know what I mean? I deserve it.
Go back to the victim mentality or entitlement podcast that we did and listen to that one. But
no, it's true though. It's a great episode, dude, and it's just so true. Like, people need to, first of all, they need to be honest with themselves. All right, like, where am I at right now? Am I comfortable? Right?
I just openly stated that I was in a funk.
Exactly.
And I'm identifying that. Exactly. I know that. The last week or two, the only thing I've been hung up on 75 Hard is picking out a diet that I want to stick to for the next 75 days.
We all get these comfort levels, bro, and we do need that motivation, but you don't have to go so extreme the wrong way. Like, otherwise we'd be rebuilding the company over and over again every year. Because you know what I mean? We see a lot of growth in 1 year when we are very focused and we kick ass, right? Yeah. So I think it's just... That's how you build good self-awareness. It's just by being really honest with yourself and really ask yourself, like, fuck, am I comfortable right now?
I pulled my foot off the gas. I'm not focused anymore. I'm in a funk. Yeah. Identify it.
Yep.
Label it.
Yeah. Be honest with it.
If it's identified and you label it, then it's easier to overcome.
Yeah.
Because then when you're in a funk and then
if that feels like shit to you, good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like now analyze why you feel like shit, because maybe you were working out at one point. Maybe you were eating better. Maybe you were more focused at work and had better energy there and were accomplishing more. All of those things, if you're not accomplishing, you're not working out or exercising, all of these things. And if you were doing them, that's easy to identify why you're in the funk. Right. And so, again, start chipping away at this shit, right? Start chipping away by, again, as Kale said, identifying it, and then commit to something. Yeah. Whether it's, again, meditating, whether it's writing things down, commit to one thing new. Again, we talked about happiness is really in the progress more so than anything. And when you're accomplishing and you're progressing as an individual, then it's much more difficult to get into a funk because you have more self-confidence, self-worth, and you're working towards something. So the suggestion that we would give you guys today is find something to work towards, whether it's a physical goal. That's one thing that is something that you can do on a day-to-day basis and does create a certain level of discipline that can carry over into all aspects of life. So that's one of the easier things to say, hey, if I do this every day and I'm disciplined and I follow through with it, my self-worth is going to go up. My self-worth goes up. That discipline leaks over into other aspects of my life, right? So if you just find one thing that you can identify that you want to change.
One problem, though, and I'll be honest, I suffer with this, okay? And so I'm sure other people do too, is sometimes people avoid actually turning it on because they don't like feeling ashamed of themselves. You know what I mean? And I do that.
Almost like
if I make a promise to go to the gym today and then I don't go, I feel ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
If I feel like I have regressed so much that it's just too hard to start up again, I feel this weird selfish shame, so I sit there and avoid it because I don't want to feel that shame, right?
Yeah.
And so in all reality, you got to flip it. Dude, that feeling of shame is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Face it. Feel it, be with it, and then just take the next step to get back on the horse or whatever it is.
If you're feeling ashamed, that's because you have a sense of worth, right? And you know that you're better than your current state.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but somebody that doesn't feel self-worth or doesn't feel like that their current, that they've never been better than what their current state is, it's very difficult to do, but that's a good point.
I know I'm doing it when I won't look myself in the mirror. I do that. I avoid looking at myself in the mirror when I feel ashamed of myself, but I'm not facing it.
So it's almost easier to not set goals, to not let yourself down and feel ashamed.
Exactly.
So then you just go through and just stay in this funk forever because at least you don't have to face yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to say, well, there I go again, breaking promises.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it can work against you just like setting goals can work with you.
Right.
If setting goals and not doing anything about it, your self-worth can go down.
Right.
And you can feel ashamed. And so in some cases it's easier to stay in that comfort level and just try to ignore the funk, or it's going to pass, or you just wake up and just go through your routine hoping that something changes without you ever having to change.
You nailed it, dude. That's exactly the mindset that you can get into. And I know I've done that a lot. That's why I've yo-yoed a lot over the years. And so it's just something that I want to highlight, because if other people feel that, like, that's normal.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not going to get better until you face it.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you have to take a step backwards and feel that and sit with that for a second.
Be grateful for that feeling. Like, dude, I'm so grateful that I'm feeling this right now, that I needed this to get back on the horse or whatever.
If you don't ever get into a low spot and identify that you're at a low spot, then there's no way up.
Right.
But the problem is that you have to identify it, and you have to kind of, again, whether it's feel ashamed or this, that, the, hopefully you feel majorly ashamed to the point to where it forces you to course correct.
Right.
You know, and if you don't have any guilt or shame or this or that, then why ever change?
Right.
You know, so unfortunately you have to sometimes take a step backwards before you take a step forward.
Yeah.
In some cases you got to just call yourself out, right? And so I just wanted to have a podcast where you guys understood, one, everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. So you're not alone. Secondly, how to identify some of these things. And third, how to try to work your way out of a funk, right? By, again, creating new intentions and new focus and honoring those goals that you set
100%.
for yourself. So, so I'll read the review for this episode. My boys is what he says. I tried to do how he had it spelled out.
There we go.
The combination of amazing life and business advice with Kale and Trevor dropping stories from their younger days makes everything they say so much more relatable and authentic. It also helps everything stick because I can find similar stories in my life and apply a new perspective to it. Keep dropping the fire. That was from IBARHAI. So...
Everyone's pronounce that, dude.
I'm not gonna. Isn't that weird? Like when people create like like my Zoom thing. You know, when I got on that Zoom call, and they're like, "Who's T Unit?" And I created this profile under like just a weird random thing, you know, and then it shows up everywhere. It's like nobody creates like iTunes profile under like just Kale or like they do like their nickname or this or that. I wish people would,
especially when you're younger.
Hey,
dude.
Let's do this. You guys, if you're going to drop a review, which we definitely appreciate and please do, put your first and last name at the end so that we can actually just say that review was from Kale Goodman.
Yeah, if you want.
Rather than your iTunes
at least
ID.
your first name.
Yeah, something, right? So that
whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, whatever you. Hey, a nickname, I don't give a shit. Give it, at least make it something that I can read, you know? But we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, today's podcast. Make sure you guys share this information with people. Make sure you guys are commenting, liking the information that we're putting out, because obviously that's how it gets out to more people with all these damn algorithms that you got to freaking try to work around anymore. But it's all good, you know. So I'm grateful for Instagram just in general, due to the fact that we get to connect with people just like we do.
Me too,
you know,
man.
Obviously there's obstacles, right? The force of average, you know. But you know, we have to work with inside those parameters and make it work. But you guys, we want to make sure that if you're in a funk, that we're giving you guys information to help get out of it.
Hopefully this helps, man.
Yeah. So
I think there were some good nuggets in there for sure.
I think so too. So we
appreciate
hope you guys have a good day. Take care.